Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtathari Satarine, excuse me. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so last week we finished on text 267. I want to remind myself and remind us as well exactly where we left off, the context. Gopkumar is now in Ayodhya and he's overwhelmed, as he often does get, overwhelmed with great ecstasy in actually eventually having darshan of Lord Ram. And then Hanuman is raising him to his feet and trying to pacify him. Yeah, so that's here. On the Lord's order, Hanuman then raised me from the ground and brought me by force to where the Lord was resting his sacred feet. It then came to my mind that all my long cherished desires had borne fruit beyond what I had ever hoped, and where else could I have achieved such perfection? And then 167, and we begin with 168. I stayed there for some time, as before, in my own dress as a cowherd boy. Remember, even in Vaikuntha, he was dressed as a cowherd boy. And the fullness of bliss I tasted overwhelmed me. So let's just read this commentary here on 267. Just as he had served Lord Narayan for some time in Vaikuntha, fanning him and pushing his swing, Gopal Kumar now served Lord Ramachandra for some time in Ayodhya. But if Gopal Kumar's intention was to go to Dwarka, why did he stay in Ayodhya? It was because he was enchanted and forgot everything, intoxicated by the natural ecstasy at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra. Don't know if Mother Chandravali, did she share that video of Garanga speaking about that British administrator who was based in India who had darshan of Lord Ram, and then he was subsequently built a temple for Lord Ram. He was more or less an atheist, and he wanted to use some quarry stone for breaching a dam, which was for breaching some floodwaters. But that stone was put aside for building a temple, so the local Brahmins wouldn't allow it. Yeah, so he had doubts about the existence of Lord Ram and really was questioning their faith in Lord Ram, but they had absolute faith in Lord Ramachandra. Anyway, it so happened that the Brahmin, he gave him a synopsis of the story of the Ramayana. So at that point, after that, Lord Ramachandra actually appeared to this English viceroy of sorts, and he became quite affected, and eventually he became a somewhat a devotee of Lord Ram, and he built a temple. Did anyone see that? I forwarded it to Chandravali because we mentioned it last week. Obviously not. Okay, I should remind her to Hare Krishna. All right. Anyway, that was a little flashback from last week. So, Mother Sahachari, would you like to read? Is it possible, or are you otherwise engaged? Spreading flowers, or
Give me one.
is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, your voice is a bit low. Well, perhaps it's my volume. Try again.
Give me 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah, you can read from 268.
268, yeah.
Yeah, 268. It's on the screen here. Hopefully you can see it. You can see, or it's difficult?
No, I can see 1 second. Yeah, 268.
Yes.
Thank you. I saw the unique pastimes of the divine Lion of the Raghus, who was playing the role of a king of kings, acting in strict accord with religious principles. Commentary. In a subtle way, Gopakumar now begins to express the dissatisfaction that will eventually compel him to find an even better abode of the Supreme Lord than Ayodhya. Lord Ramachandra acted just like a pious king of the world, obeying the rules and regulations of the Dharma Shastras. Gopakumara never saw him violate any religious principles. This implies that the Lord was not free to display the highest extreme of compassion for his devotees. 269. But I did not see the unique sweetness I had found within the varied playful pastimes of my worshipable deity's lotus feet, nor did I find his special mercy. Commentary. Because of great respect for Srila Gopal Dev, Gopakumara refers to him here by using the plural phrase Ishta Deva Padanam, referring to his feet rather than speaking his name. Lord Gopala has certain pastimes that Lord Ramachandra doesn't like, attracting the universe with the music of his flute and enchanting the gopis in various ways. Moreover, Gopakumara in his private meditations would have very friendly dealings with Madan Gopal, including exchanges of embraces and kisses. In contrast, Gopakumara's relationship with the Lord Ramachandra was more formal.
Mm. So so same is happening here. He's feeling it's not quite what he's looking for or what he's used to. So let's read on. Yeah, go on.
Thus, even there in Ayodhya, I seemed unhappy. But by hearing from Sri Hanuman the glories of Sri Ramachandra's lotus feet, and by directly seeing Lord Ram myself, I dispelled that mental distress. I imagined Lord Ramachandra to have all the qualities of my worshipable deity. Commentary. In Ayodhya, Gopakumara only seemed unhappy. Sokam Iva Apuvan, because that apparent sorrow was a product of pure love for the Supreme Lord. It was, in fact, unalloyed transcendental ecstasy. By hearing Hanuman glorify, 1 second.
By hearing Hanuman glorified Lord Ram's
humility, simplicity, respectfulness, and other sublime qualities, Gopakumara would be struck with wonder. He would look upon Lord Ramachandra with great love, seeing in him the features and qualities of his own Madan Gopal. Text 272-73. By the force of my previous spiritual practices, the land of Vraj would impose itself upon my heart, along with a yearning for its special pastimes and mercy. When Sri Hanuman, the best of counselors, would notice this, he would save me by encouraging me with diverse clever arguments. Commentary. Gopakumar's vision of Lord Ramachandra as Lord Gopal would be short-lived, and he would hanker again for the sweet life of Rajbhumi. He would then feel disturbed and think about leaving Ayodhya. Hanuman detected these changes in Gopakumara's mood by the signs of disappointment on his face and would make all endeavor to save Gopakumara by keeping him in Ayodhya. Hanuman, an expert diplomat, knew how to advise Gopakumar in ways he was inclined to accept. So Gopakumara stayed for a long time without deciding to leave. Only Lord Ram could stop this cycle of discontent and appeasement. Text 274. Finally, Sri Ram, whose heart is tender with unlimited compassion and who knows the mind of everyone in the world, consoled me with words of gentle affection. Go to Dwaraka and be happy, he ordered, and then he sent me at once together with the chief of the bears. Commentary. Had the Lord not personally asked him to go to Dwaraka, Gopakumara would never have been able to leave Ayodhya. Lord Ram knew perfectly well that Gopakumara was a worshipper of Sri Madan Gopal, exclusively devoted to that Lord and uniquely qualified to attain him. Furthermore, Lord Ram understood that this was why Gopakumara was never completely satisfied in Ayodhya, even after tasting supreme ecstasy and even after being mercifully counseled by Hanuman. It was apparent that only going to Dwaraka would make Gopakumara happy. The Supreme Lord rarely sent someone out of his abode, but this time he did so for the happiness of his devotee. He deputed Sri Jambavan, king of the bears, to accompany Gopakumar on the way to Dwaraka. Jambavan, being the grandfather of Samba, Lord Krishna's son, was an appropriate escort. Thus ends the fourth chapter of part 2 of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrta entitled Vaikuntha.
Okay, so all right, so we finished the whole volume. Okay, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Let's just look. Yeah,
Third one,
right.
out, isn't it?
Yeah, so let's close this one up.
I better go and get my third one.
Okay, yeah, if those who have the hard copy, you better go and search it out. I'm gonna
Yeah, get another one.
Yeah. So 1 second, let me look on my bookshelf on my computer. Okay, so part 1, part 2, part 2. Can someone do me a favor? Someone who has the hard copy, if you can just show me on the screen. Oh, my Raj Kishore just opening up. Can you just show me the cover on the screen? Okay, a bit. Oh, that's okay. I got it. Okay, thank you. Right.
Volume 3. It is volume
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I just pulled it up. I'll share it in a minute. I'm just pulling it up at the moment.
It's
Is it begin? Part 2, Goloka Mahatmya?
Yes, part 2 concluded. Look,
Okay, yeah. The glories of God.
Golok concluded.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's just read this. Be nice to read this from Gopi Pranadana. I would be ungrateful not to express my thanks to all the thoughtful Vaishnavas who have shared with me their words of appreciation for the first 2 volumes of this book. I cannot take much credit for this work, since I've only served as a middleman between Srila Sanatana Goswami, who provided the exquisite poetry and the definitive commentary on it, and their editors, Keshava Bharati Das Goswami and Jayadvaita Swami, who made the English almost as delightful and elegant as the Sanskrit. Okay, very nice. So that was back in 2004. So, okay. So, all right. So now he's on the way to Goloka via Dwarka. Okay. He's now been, yeah. So let's get straight into it. Part 2. Let's see. Let's just 1 second. I like to see if I can find the content, see what we're gonna. All right. So we're gonna the glories of Goloka concluded. All right. Then there's a synoptic discussion about Prema, Abhishta Labha, the attainment of all desires, then Jagannanda. It looks interesting and wonderful, the bliss of the worlds. And then that's it. Then there's another volume after this. Is that correct, or is this the last volume?
No, this is the last one.
This is the last one. Oh, God. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's then go there.
And we'll think of something else to read.
Yeah, we got to come up with something. I'm sure we will. Okay, this should be wonderful. So, love of God.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all aspiring for. It's the ultimate quest to develop spontaneous loving affection for Krishna as the residence of Vrindavan. This is our quest. All right. So anyone else is infused to read? So who's I haven't shared the screen. Let me share the screen. 1 second. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. And let me just share the screen first. And there we go. Because I'm reading straight from the screen here. I'm not reading from a book. Okay,
Prema,
off we go into Prema, love of God.
we're on the ladder.
Sorry? On the ladder.
Ladder. We just have to climb up now.
Yeah. At least we can hear about love of God. That's the beginning.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sri Gop Kumar said, I then went to Dwarka. There I saw various groups of Yadavas along with their children. They were accompanied by some Brahmanas of Mathura and were enjoying themselves. Commentary. In this 5th chapter, Gop Kumar meets the Lord of Dwarka and hears the glories of the earthly Gokul and the pastimes of the Lord enacted there. By understanding the glories of that Gokul, he comes to know the glories of Krishna's planet, Golok, in the spiritual sky. Upon arriving in Dwarka, Gop Kumar saw that the Yadus were completely free from anxiety and in fact were full of most perfect ecstasy. They were constantly enjoying various kinds of pleasure. He saw large numbers of them assembled in groups, and besides the adults, he saw many children also. Text 2. I had wandered everywhere, but never before had I seen such a perfection of charm as that which shone in them. Commentary. Not even in Vaikunt and Ayodhya had Gopakumar seen such handsome people. Seeing them gave me such delight that I forgot everything I had in mind. And those Yadavas, the best of all-knowing sages, drew me into their company and embraced me. Commentary. Gopakumar had intended to bow down to offer the Yadavas his respects, but he was so enchanted by what he was seeing that he forgot. The Yadavas, who were as all-knowing as the most proficient mystics, knew at once that Gop Kumar was looking for Krishna, and so they greeted him enthusiastically. Text 4. When they recognized me as the son of a coward from Govardhan Hill, their hearts melted in flood of affection, and they took me by hand and brought me into the inner precincts of the city. Precincts of the city. From a distance, I saw the personality of Godhead, brilliantly manifest, at leisure in the vast assembly hall. He sat on an excellent cushion of an excellent throne made of gold and jewels. Commentary. The hall was known as Sudharma. Text 6. He was served by all the many contentious charms of the Lord of Vaikunt, and by many different splendors, greater and greater, that even the Lord does not possess. Commentary. Many of the attractive features of Lord Narayan are also visible in Krishna, the Lord of Dwarka, a beautiful mouth, eyes, and so on, fine ornaments, opulent paraphernalia, and such pastimes as chewing pan and sitting on a throne. King Krishna displays these charms even more attractively than Lord Narayan, and what to speak of Krishna's own unique ways of attracting his devotees. Text 7.
Okay.
Sorry, got it. Revealing his two beautiful arms for his devotees, Lord Krishna, the ocean of the supremely wonderful pastimes, was worshipped by the youthful maturity, softened by the touch of adolescent grace. His sublime gestures stole the hearts of his servants. Young adults are especially beautiful, but in Krishna, the mature beauty of youth is made even sweeter by traces of childlike innocence. never leaving him unattended. This special mixture of charm serves him with pure devotion, like a faithful worshipper of his deity form. Since the devotees in Dwarka are Krishna's dearest servants, they can enjoy seeing his beauty constantly. And whereas devotees of Vishnu see the Lord with four hands, the more intimate among the residents of Dwarka generally see him with only two. Gop Kumar saw how Krishna smiles, his pleasant words, his sidelong glances, and the movements of his eyebrow charm the Dwarkavasis in the Sudharma hall. Only devotees favored by the Lord can know how such gestures affect the heart, for it cannot be adequately described in the words. Indeed, the eternally deep ocean of Krishna's playful pastimes goes beyond the delimiting power of words and the mind. In this narration, Gop Kumar can only hint at such charms. Text 8. Above him shone a broad white umbrella. At his two sides waved a pair of excellent yak-tail fans, and in front of him, upon a golden footstool, sat his divine slippers. Gop Kumar's attention now turned to Sri Krishna's royal paraphernalia. The Lord's white umbrella, large and finely crafted, were held above his head. Similarly, large and white were the chamaras with which he was being adroitly fanned on either side.
Yeah, so I guess it's quite obvious, but it just reminded me when I read this that because there was descriptions of the Lord here in the previous commentary, that for some of the residents of Dwarka, Krishna is manifest with 4 arms as a Vishnu. Is that correct? Yeah, since the devotees of Dwarka are Krishna's dearest servants, they can enjoy seeing his beauty constantly. And whereas devotees of Vishnu see their Lord with 4 arms, the more intimate among the residents of Dwarka, so some of them would see Krishna as Vishnu with 4 arms. That's how he would manifest to their vision. But those more intimate would see him with only 2. So don't forget, this is Krishna who has gone to Dwarka. Although he never leaves Vrindavan, we know that's a whole subject in of itself. But now that Krishna is in Dwarka. But here he won't have a flute. I don't think he has a peacock feather. And he's surrounded by, described here, royal paraphernalia and many servants and many ministers, etc., etc. But still, it's Krishna, or we could say it's Dwarka Krishna, isn't it?
Mhm.
The same Krishna, but in a different mood. Dwarka Krishna.
So I was just thinking, so does it, from what you're saying, that in Dwarka, there are devotees who could see him as 4-handed?
Yeah, that's what I was reconfirming for myself in that previous commentary, text 7.
I was thinking something different, like
Go on,
maybe
I might be mistaken.
first time I'm reading. So I was thinking, as Gop Kumar is coming up to Dwarka, he's seeing how in Vaikunta how the devotees were 4-armed and some Krishna Narayan in 4-armed.
As far as I remember, he has already been to Vaikunta.
Yeah.
Remember that description when he was told to wait at reception?
Yeah.
And then he saw all these different residents of Vaikunta coming and going with a variety of different forms. So he has already been there. So what's being described here, as far as I can see, because it says here, the more intimate among the residents of Dwarka. So among all the residents of Dwarka, some may not be so intimate with Dwarka Krishna. And maybe it's somewhat at a distance. Yeah, they're not the inner circle, so to speak. So then they're very much already the residents of Dwarka to a large extent are in a mood of awe and reverence, especially those on, you could say, on the outer circles. Then for them, it is Vishnu with 4 arms. But it's saying here, the more intimate among them. So that's indicating the more intimate among the residents of Dwarka.
We'll see him in 2 hands.
Yeah, we'll see him with 2 arms. Yeah, this is the same, when Krishna manifests his universal form, then he unmanifests that form, and the first form he took was the 4-arm form. Then eventually he took the 2-arm form. I think because Arjuna requested, let me see that form from which nectar comes. Yeah. They went from the universal form to the 4-arm form, which is, you could say, Vishnu, and then to 2-arm form. So interesting. There's so many things we're reading here in Brihad Bhagavatamrta, which is something so many details which I haven't been aware of before. So it's not like everyone's seeing the same Krishna in Dwarka.
And I always think how everywhere he goes, Gokumar, the descriptions are like so of the place of Krishna. It's like the devotees staying there really are absorbed in that mood, as we've been reading.
I mean, they're absorbed in the worshipful deity, which is present there. Yes.
Yeah, present in each places.
Yeah, just like Hanuman probably couldn't relate much to Gopakumar's feeling undone in Ayodhya, because that would never be a problem for Hanuman. It's completely here, because that's his particular intimate relationship with Lord Ramachandra. So naturally, that's the natural characteristic of each of the Vaikuntha planets and the devotees of the Lord, that they're fully absorbed and appreciate how the Lord is manifest before them, except Gopakumar.
Yeah, it's like us.
Yeah, he's like traveling through, But at least this time, the residents of Dwarka, they can immediately understand his relationship, because it is Dwarka Krishna. So they're appreciating very much.
Yeah, but they're understanding that he's looking for Krishna, but then he will realize that it's not Dwarka Krishna he really wants.
Yeah. So let's see his reaction, because he is getting closer.
Yes.
So that's why this is the last volume. So surely in this volume he's going to end up in Goloka, because the chapter is, because it's called Goloka. Yeah.
Yes, called Goloka. Prema.
Prema. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Text 9.
Yeah, go ahead.
All around him were various symbols of royalty befitting the ruler of the kings among the king. And there were servants qualified to attend him, the transcendental opulences standing in rows before him. Commentary. Various weapons and other symbols of royalty stood near the Lord. Of course, the opulence of the Lord of Dwarka are all purely spiritual and even more sublime than those of the Lord of Vaikuntha. But for the sake of poetic comparison, they are described as befitting a worldly emperor in a very real sense. Moreover, Krishna in Dwarka is the king of all kings. Before describing the principal devotees present in the assembly hall, Gopakumar mentions the devotee tending the Lord at his side. The attendants who stood on the 4 sides of the Lord were Nijanurup, qualified to serve the Supreme Lord because of being unequaled in splendor. The opulence arrayed in rows before the Lord included his chariot and horses, his parijat flower and other playthings, and the personified arts of song, dance, and so forth.
Mm.
Text 10. Sri Vasudev, Balram, Akrur, and others sat to his right, each on his own seat, Gada and Satyaki to his left, and just before him, King Ugrasen. Commentary. Beside Krishna's father, his elder brother, and his respected friend Akrur, others also sat on the right, including his guru Sandipani and Garg. Ugrasen sat on a throne directly in front of Krishna because Ugrasen was the king. Text 11. Also nearby was a Lord's minister, Vikadru, with Krutvarma and several other prominent Vrishnis. Sri Narad was entertaining the Lord, making him smile with clever words, fine singing, and music of his veena. Commentary. Vikadru, the trusted advisor, and Krutvarma, the head of the army, also had privileged seats near Krishna's throne. The same Narad, whom Gop Kumar had seen in the Vaikunt, was wandering about the assembly, praising various Yadavas with good humor. Text 12. Sri Garud stood before the Lord, glorifying him with the prayers, and Uddhava massaged the Lord's lotus feet and pleased him with affectionate, intimate remarks. Commentary. As Krishna's dearest friend in Dwarka, Uddhav had the privilege of massaging the Lord's feet on the Sudharma assembly hall. Being so close to the Lord, he can say things that others present should not overhear. He is also a disciple of Bruhaspati, the master of speech. So he is a perfect scholar and Krishna's favorite advisor. Even if someone were to stand close enough to hear what he was telling Krishna, his speech was so circumspect that
Circumspect. Yeah.
Circumspect?
Circumspect. I just let me just look this up quickly. Circumspect. Oh, it's not going to come up. Okay, it's not coming up. I don't think this word means his speech is very diplomatic.
Okay.
Circumspect.
Circumspect, that its confidential gist was beyond guessing. Although the Lord to whom Uddhava was speaking had submitted himself to Uddhav's influence, that Lord was Nijeshwaram, the supreme controller. What to speak of being most clever and resourceful. Text 13. Seeing from the distance the goal I had long desired to see, I fell unconscious, overburdened by love. Then the Lord, brimming with the exalted rasa of affection, told Uddhava to bring me close. Text 14. Uddhava quickly came forward, delighted to see me in the dress of a cowherd boy. He carefully lifted me from the ground, brought me back to full awareness, and led me to the Lord's side with both hands. Commentary. Since Uddhava had a special attachment to the residents of Gokul, he at once recognized Gop Kumar's dress, and he quickly left his service of massaging Krishna's feet to carry out the Lord's order. Text 15. Then the Lord, wanting to lift me up and draw me to his side, placed his feet close to me, and oh, Uddhav, with his own hand, firmly touched my head to those lotus feet. Commentary. In all of Gop Kumar's travels throughout the material and spiritual worlds, he had never experienced such mercy from the Supreme Lord. 16. The Lord of my life then stroked me with his lotus hand, as if to cleanse each of my limbs. He took the flute from my hand, looked at it, and apparently in great distress, silently shed tears. Commentary. Although Krishna was in the august assembly of royalty, he was unable to check his emotions when Gopakumar came near him. Krishna surely knows how to deal lovingly with his devotees, and in front of the Yadava princes, he tried his best to control himself, but it was obvious he was becoming agitated. Text 17. The next moment he asked, "Is all well with you? Is your health good? I hope the place you came from is free from any misfortune." While speaking this way, he again began to feel disturbed, and Uddhava had to calm him. Commentary. As soon as Uddhava saw ecstatic symptoms appear in Krishna's body, such as tears and choking of the voice, he took steps to calm the Lord. Krishna's agitation was caused by the questions he had asked about Gopkumara's hometown. Strictly speaking, inauspicious forces cannot enter the Dwarka of Vaikuntha, where Gopkumar was present. They can enter only the Vrindavan and Dwarka on the earth. But Sri Krishna is always in the mood of his abodes on earth, which are ultimately identical with his abodes in the spiritual sky. Sri Narad will later elaborate on this esoteric truth.
Okay, so yeah, so what's being described here, because there is a manifestation, just like Vrindavan manifests as Palma Vrindavan. In one sense, it is non-different from Vrindavan, but there are some differences to be seen in Palma Vrindavan. Although it's the same manifestation of the spiritual realm, which manifests on the kind of on I don't make too much. It manifests on the canvas of the material worlds. So therefore, you're going to see therefore we have demons. We have King Kamsa sending his different henchmen to try and kill Krishna. So sometimes, for instance, there's the Triyanavata demon. So there's a whirlwind which threatened the lives of all the residents of Raj. So in that sense, there's some shadows of inauspiciousness, because that, although it's non-different, it is on the canvas of the material realm. So the same with Dwarka. So this is not the Dwarka that sank after Krishna left the world. This is the eternal Dwarka. Okay, so in that eternal Dwarka, there is no, what it described, there is nothing inauspicious. There is no Yadavas killing each other. Okay, that doesn't happen. And certainly the Dwarka of Vaikuntha is described here. So inauspicious forces cannot enter Dwarka. Yeah. But in Palma Dwarka, they may be subject to some inauspiciousness, like, for instance, the whole of the city becoming engulfed in the ocean. Was that your confusion, Maharaj Kishore? Is that help?
Yes, because it says, strictly speaking, inauspicious forces cannot enter Dwarka. So that was a bit confusing. Okay, thank you.
It cannot. If I've understood right, because it says here the Dwarka of Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
So this is where Gopama has gone to.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, they can enter only Vrindavan and Dwarka on earth, but Krishna is always in the mood of his abode on earth, which are ultimately identical with the abodes in the spiritual sky in the ultimate sense. So this is going to be spoken of later, the tattva of the Dham. Yeah, so we're going to hear about that.
Thanks. Thank you. Shall I continue?
Yeah, anybody else? Any comments? Everyone's on board where we are?
How can you be bored? There's so much to understand.
There's so much to understand?
Yeah, so much to understand from this.
You like what? We can try.
No, I said there's so much to understand from what
Like in general.
yeah, in general. Because I was thinking even Sudama Hall, there wouldn't be no inauspicious things or
Yeah, it seems like there's a Sudama, a special assembly hall.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's there in Vaikuntha Dwarka.
Yeah. Because I hear there's no like even hunger, thirst, nothing like that there. So
No, and even in Dwarka on the Boma Dwarka, there will be the same things. There will be no want, there will be no hunger, there will be no thirst. But as Krishna left the world, then Dwarka will also, and Dwarka on earth also has the magical pastime of becoming unmanifest. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite yeah. How could we completely understand? All right, perhaps I should have a read from here if that's okay. We're
Yes,
reading from text 18. Okay. With a gesture, Uddhava indicated to the Lord those present before them in the assembly. Yeah, I was thinking as well also that there is descriptions in my teaching and studies of deity worship, and for instance, yantras and invoking yantras during the worship. Then there's some yantras which they're drawn in very technical way, that they have all the Lord's associates in all different parts of the yantra, and the Lord is in the center. So here, for example, he is there with Lakshmi. Yeah. And then all the principal associates are then surround the Lord. Yeah. In different circles. So, and therefore those who, the Sri Vaishnavas, they have a very detailed worship. Well, where they will actually worship all these attendants and servants of the Lord in a very elaborate way before they may actually worship the Lord himself, before they may worship Vishnu or Narayan. They would, just like we do in our worship of Soda Shopachara Puja, then we worship the Lord's servants before we worship the Lord. And for those who might not know, then we worship the conch and the bell before we worship Krishna as being representatives of the actual servants of the Lord. So you can find some quite detailed descriptions of this, the different circles and different associates of the Lord. So I was just trying to understand as well as because like as we're reading as well, our entrance into at some point in some distant life, we hope, we pray, or let's just say a devotee's entrance into Vrindavan will be based on his developed meditation on the specific servant of the Lord and the specific way that they serve. And one will aspire for that same mood. So I guess it must be the same with those who worship the Sri Vaishnavas. I guess, I don't really know, but I guess they must approach Vishnu through his different servants. Yeah, so that's why they have quite an elaborate worship of the Lord's different servants. Yeah. Now these positions, all these names we're hearing, they are not up for grabs. Okay, we cannot become any of these associates. Sorry, position taken. Same as in Vrindavan. But we cannot become the Lord's direct kind of associates, but we aspire to become servants of his servants. Yeah, that's our desire, to become servants of those who are serving Krishna. Yeah. So here, anyway, let's read on. With a gesture, Uddhava indicated to the Lord those present before them in the assembly. Vasudeva, and the other Yadavas, and the many kings and demigods and sages. So demigods is up for grabs. The positions of demigods are temporary. So if anyone's inspired that way. Commentary. Uddhava moved his eyebrows to remind Krishna of the presence of not only Vasudeva and the other Yadus, but also of kings like Yudhisthira. All right, because Krishna's going to get overwhelmed, with thoughts of Vrindavan. Because don't forget, Gopakumar is dressed like a cowherd boy. So that's going to invoke some specific ecstasies of Krishna. So Uddhava's trying to calm him down, by pointing out, actually, you better be here. We're in a different assembly. So you need to control yourself. But also kings like Yudhisthira, demigods like Indra, the sages like Gargacharya. As we have understood from the philosophical explanation by Narada, these kings, demigods, and sages are all eternal. Okay, demigods are all eternal associates of the Lord who reside in Dwarka within Vaikuntha, just as they reside in Dwarka on earth. To enhance the Lord's enjoyment of his pastimes, Gopakumar will see many of these devotees again when he reaches Goloka. All right. Should be interesting. Text 19. The Lord opened his lotus eyes and glanced at the people in front of him. With difficulty, he somewhat calmed himself and got up to enter his inner quarters. One thing we're learning about hearing about these spiritual personalities is they're very emotional. Yeah, but emotional in the pure sense of the term. So love of Godhead is a very emotional affair. And specifically the Lord has a very emotional, but yeah, person means emotion, and Krishna is a supreme person. So he's very, very deep emotions. And yeah, so love of God is like an ocean of emotion, you could say. But it's all pure because it's all directed to Sri Krishna. Yeah, and it's as a consequence of the Lord's loving dealings with them. So here, yeah. Because I now had attained the Lord of my life, for whom I had yearned for so long, I was immersed in the ocean of joy. I had no idea what to say or what to do. As the chiefs of the Yadus began leaving, the Lord honored them with items such as pan and sandalwood paste. Holding my joined palms in his right hand, he took me with him as he entered the inner palace with Balaram and Uddhava. Okay, so Gopakumar is like this, and Krishna takes him by the hands, ways like that, and leads him to the inner palace now. He's going to the inner palace. So most of them have left. Now he's going with Balaram and Uddhava. Krishna standing up ended the official business of the assembly. So the Yadus all began to leave. Gopakumar, however, was escorted by the Lord himself into the Lord's private quarters. The Lord took hold of Gopakumar's hand very firmly. Okay. The Lord's 16,108 queens, okay, happily followed their husband along with their maidservants. So, God, so how many maidservants is that? How many maidservants does one queen have?
You mean they're all together?
Yeah, it says it here. The Lord's 16,108 queens happily followed their husband. Of course, this is a spiritual world, so it could easily be, and if these details are not given, but it might be that each one of them thought they was the only one following their husband. Who's to tell? But it doesn't say that here. 16,108 queens happily followed their husband, along with their maidservants. And in front, the queens placed their mothers-in-law, Sri Devaki and Rohini. Commentary. Immediately after Krishna entered his quarters, his queens and their attendants followed him. They showed proper respect to the mothers of Krishna and Balaram by having them enter first. Among the queens were the goddesses Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, and Kalindi, and Mitravinda, and Satya, Bhadra, and Lakshmana. Commentary. The word Devi, supreme ruling goddess, here refers specifically to Satyabhama, who is especially dear to Krishna, but it also refers to all these queens. 24. The Lord's other queens followed, headed by Rohini, all of them fit in every way to be his consorts and all honored by groups of suitably qualified maidservants. Yeah. So, yeah, when a devotee returns to the spiritual world, he or she is not the only one there. All right.
No.
No, there's millions and thousands of millions of servants. Some are serving more intimately, some perhaps at a distance. Perhaps in the same way we can relate to that to our Pacific spiritual masters. You know, some are in a position to render personal service. Like I have god brothers of mine who are very fortunate in a lot of ways. They're with my Guru Maharaj all the time, you know, offering very nice, wonderful service. Then there's other disciples, a little bit, they're disciples, but they don't have that, you know, they're not in that kind of inner circle of servants. But doesn't mean anyone's lacking. It's a point to remember. It's an important point. Yeah. That it doesn't mean one is missing out as such. If you have the right mood, then you're happy, you know, to be serving in whatever position you are placed. So anyway, just trying to create a picture of the sphere we're hearing about Dwarka. So there's thousands of millions of people there.
That's exactly what I was thinking the other day when I was reading. Like, say Radharani, and from her expanses, goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi,
Yeah.
many. The gopis are so many there, you know, like Sakhis, Manjaris.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 of the creation, right? And the quarter we in the material world.
Yeah.
We are on the smallest with Brahma with 4 heads.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at how insignificant we really are. I was like, how could you even go anywhere near thinking?
Yeah, but what's interesting, also we gave the example of disciples and the spiritual master. In one sense, the spiritual master is not Krishna. He's a representative of Krishna. So the experience of the residents in the spiritual world is that their relationship with Krishna is very, very personal. Just like when Krishna was taking lunch with all the cowherd boys, and they all experienced Krishna was exchanging, joking with them personally, and also the rasa dance as well. Millions of gopis, and Krishna was manifesting between each and every gopi. So that's the experience. Although one may be at a distance, so-called physically, because of the spiritual energy, one feels that very intimate, close reciprocation and connection with the Lord. So don't forget, it's a spiritual world, so it's not confined to the laws of this material world. Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself how little we are, how little we, you know.
Yeah, when we're considering all these.
When you go looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't, you are close to your Guru Maharaj. We can't even go near Guru Maharaj's, you know. So.
Yeah. But I'm saying that example is kind of limited because In one sense, it can be. I guess you can feel it on a really high level of realization. No, you can actually. Your spiritual master's presence within your heart as we develop in our Krishna consciousness.
You
Yeah?
do, yes, you do. You do.
Yeah.
And you get this feeling you want to be where he is, like wherever
Yeah.
he is, you want to go there, you know?
Yeah, so it can be experienced in relationship to the spiritual master as well, but it's definitely a characteristic in the spiritual world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you're not in the inner circle, you're still fully absorbed in loving relationship with Krishna in a very personal way. You know? Intriguing. Okay, so we read. Did we read that text to 24? We didn't, did we? Okay. The Lord's other queens followed, headed by Rohini. All of them fit in every way to be his consorts and all honored by groups of suitably qualified maidservants. This Rohini is different from Lord Balaram's mother. Shri Shukadev Goswami confirms that Rohini was the leading princess rescued from the fortress of Palmashura in Srimad Bhagavatam 1061:18. After listing the sons of Krishna's first 8 queens, Sukadeva Goswami says, Diptimams Tamratapatadya Rohinyas Taranai Hari Diptiman Tamratapta and others were sons of Lord Krishna and Rohini. That's an interesting name to get given by the spiritual master. Your name is Tamratapta.
Yeah.
Tamrata Apta, an associate of the Lord. Yeah. Okay. All of Krishna's queens, beginning with Sri Rukmini, are fully qualified to be his consorts. We can deduce, therefore, that they are super excellent in all ways, just as he is. When the queens entered the inner palace, maidservants followed them, each maidservant exactly suited to her queen's personality. For the service of the queens, these attendants carried such items as palanquins, chamara fans, and boxes containing pans. So it seems pans quite an in thing in the spiritual world. All right. Let's check the time. Let's read this one as well. 25. With his 2 mothers and all these queens surrounding him shyly, the Lord entered his palace, followed also by several groups of young sons, who added to the splendor of that procession. Within his palace, he concealed the emotions he was feeling, and with apparent pleasure, he sat down on the best of thrones. Commentary. Last in the procession that entered the Lord's quarters were his sons, led by Pradyumna and Shamba. Upon entering, Krishna hid the agitation he felt, brought on by vividly remembering Gokula, and sat down on his throne. To satisfy his mother Devaki and the queens, but especially to put Gopal in a good mood, he outwardly appeared happy, Rishtavat. In any case, having Gopal with him was almost as good as going back to Gokula, and so he had reason to be happy. All right. Okay, let's pause there. So now he's entered Dwarka, and yes, as a cowherd boy, Hare Krishna. All right, thank you everyone for joining us in this reading as we go into the last volume of Brihad Bhagavatamrta. I'm going to check out how many verses here. Let's try and get some understanding of how long we were reading. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful devotional weekend. There's a lot going on this weekend. I think Indradyumna Maharaj is here. He's doing Harinam on Saturday, so big Harinam, and yeah, and he's giving class on Monday as well. Hare Krishna. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Brihad Bhagavatamrta ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura
Jai.
Premanande. Hare Krishna, Hare
Jai.
Krishna,
Mole
Krishna
Prabhu ki
Hare
jai.
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai, Hare Bol.
Hare Hare
Hare